Well, welcome everybody. I'll just kind of start since for those of you who are here tonight, really appreciate people showing up here. Anna, do I need to adjust the waiting room?
Nope, you'll just see the little notifications, but you can just ignore that.
Okay, okay. All right. So thank you everybody for coming to my webinar tonight on the Calm Compass and strategies to help you do the best job you can do. It's a tough job, and we'll talk about that job tonight. And it's a rewarding job. So hopefully tonight's presentation can give you some of those rewards and get you feeling like you're back on top. If you're not feeling there already. So let's see. We have a lot of people coming in. Everybody's in. So I'm going to introduce to you guys tonight, among other things, the Calm Compass and some strategies, tips, and tools to help you work through some of these challenges. The Calm Compass is an online parenting program many of you have heard about already or are aware of. And I'm going to use that to provide some of the strategies and tips for you tonight. The full course is online. Let me know or let Anna know, message us privately if you have any questions about that throughout the course tonight or throughout the webinar tonight. All right. Well, the Calm Compass is positive and proactive parenting strategies, right? So we want our parenting to be positive and proactive to help kids interact and engage the world around them. We know that kids with ASD feel intimidated and overwhelmed and about daily life, about the here and now, about the future, about the past. And so we want to be introducing positive and proactive strategies wherever and whenever possible. I'll be saying that a lot tonight. Again, this webinar is going to be good. These strategies are really good for kids of all ages, even into young adulthood, who are verbal mostly or speaking. Kids with autism spectrum disorder who are verbal and speaking. I've had some parents comment that it's helped them for kids who have minimal speaking and verbal skills with all the visual strategies that we talk about. So, but for sure, it's mainly for kids who are able to use speaking abilities. All right, so my message to you tonight: you are not alone, right? Every day matters. I've spent over 30 years working with kids and families with all kinds of mental health issues from different situations and backgrounds. Much of this has now been spent working with kids and families with autism spectrum disorder. And throughout that time, I hear very similar questions and concerns. And that's really what propelled me to put this together. Are these very similar kind of themes of what do I do when and how is this going to go? What is this my child's autism, or is it their 12-year-old self growing into adolescence and young adolescence? So we're going to be talking about those and answering some of those questions, but that's really what propelled me to put together this course and this series of tools and strategies for parents, caregivers, grandparents, educators, therapists, anybody interested in learning positive and proactive strategies working with kids with autism spectrum disorder and parents. So working with parents just like you. All right. So you're not alone. You've got a lot of supports out there. Let's try and build on those tonight. It is April, which is ASD Awareness and Acceptance Month. Every day in my world is ASD Awareness and Acceptance Month, as is yours. So I'm kind of probably preaching to the choir here, right? With ASD awareness and acceptance. Sometimes we don't want to accept your child's ASD, right? It does get that difficult. It does get that frustrating. Well, let it out tonight. You are in good company. You are with fellow parents who can resonate with your frustrations about sometimes accepting ASD. Many of you know me as someone who likes to present with interaction. So Anna is at the ready to respond to any chat questions or just things you want to say, you want to communicate to your fellow parents and caregivers out there. Let's make this a community tonight of connections and really feeling like we're all in this kind of to help your kids do better and feel better about their own ASD. So it's a community tonight, even though we're all virtual and not able to see each other. All right. So I will move on to the next slide here. So your ASD parenting journey. Everybody has an ASD parenting journey if you have a child with ASD. It's all different. Every one of your journeys have been different. Because as you know, you met one child with ASD, you've met just one child with ASD. Everybody is different. And the beauty about coming together is that we have very similar strategies for all these different journeys that you're on. So your journey tonight is going to be unique and different. We're not going to share each of your journeys tonight, but we'd like to kind of help get on the same page. Let's find out kind of where in your journey you got stuck a little bit. What brought you here tonight? Where were you on your journey that you said, oh, I need to get some tools and strategies? I want to know a little bit more about, is my child an emerging young adult? Are they entering early elementary? Where are they in kind of figuring things out? Where are you in kind of figuring things out? So you get to take a lot of reflective notes. So I recommend, you pull out a notepad, you pull out something to take some notes tonight, to write some things down. I'm going to ask you to be a little reflective tonight, and then you'll probably have some things you want to write down, some things I'm talking about. If I need to, if I move through a slide too fast, feel free to just ask Anna to back up or ask me to back up, and we'll get that to you. But how's it going for you? Okay, what are some key points you'd like to take away from our time together tonight? What are some ways in which you'd like to better understand ASD and these positive, proactive parenting strategies? Okay. All right. So let's create your vision. Now, what I'd like you to do is to think a little bit about, in order to get on this journey, we need to do a little reflection. Okay, so let's do a little. I don't know if you guys hear in the background. I do have a little kitty that might be doing a little bit of saying hello to y'all with her little cries. She probably just wants to play outside, but we're just going to plow through this. So I don't know if you can hear her now, but I can hear her pretty well. So we need to know where we're going on this journey. So we need a vision. So let's create one of these. Let's create a vision for each of you tonight. How and can you see yourself parenting differently in order to get back on that path to positive and proactive parenting strategies? We need to think about you being able to see yourself on that. Okay. What does that look like for you? What are some of the attitudes you have? What are some of the emotions you see yourself having on this, in this vision of doing something different for your child, of seeing their challenges, their impediments in some ways, and seeing their strengths in different ways? Okay. How's that going to make you feel? Let's put that out there a little bit for yourselves privately. If you'd like to share some of those, feel free to share them in the chat, and Anna can read through some of those. But it's mostly for yourself. Again, feel free to share because we are a community tonight. But think about how you see yourself doing this differently. It's not just about changing your child's way of behaving. This strategy in your parenting journey is about all of you. It's the big picture. So everybody's going to be doing some change. How do you see your child responding to some of these new parenting strategies? They might look at you like they do to me in session with you. Some of you who have been in session with me might have some of those sort of like, oh, they're looking at us like, I didn't expect him to say that. I didn't expect you, mom and dad, to say that. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard for them to accept that. What tools and supports do you need to make that happen? What kinds of resources do you need to make that happen? So I want you to write some of those things down. Something attainable, something acceptable for you, something small even. Let's not take too big a bite, but something that's going to be different than what you've been doing. And this is a really important part because we're going to use this vision then to help you see how you can use some of these tools and strategies. We don't know how the relationship is going to change, but a vision is hopeful and positive. So put some of that on paper, make it real. I'll let you do that for just a minute here. How do you envision your child's response to some of those changes that you're going to make? All right. Well, feel free to keep adding to your vision as we move down the path here on your journey. Well, understanding the basics is really understanding ASD, right? So ASD, understanding to action, is understanding your child's autism spectrum disorder the best way you can. Everybody's is different, but there are for sure some key tenets and characteristics we will talk about. And more importantly, the best action for understanding their challenges. What are we trying to help? What are we trying to change? What are we trying to support and encourage? What is at the root of my child's challenges with ASD? How does that interact and co-interact with their stage of life? Again, whether it's early childhood, elementary age, adolescence, young adulthood, all that's going to have an impact. How can we use a strength-based perspective to overcome these challenges and to help them push through their own difficulties? All right. Understanding to action. You're going to hear me talk about that message a lot tonight, so we'll keep going. All right. And just a quick check-in is, have people thought about, are there any shares from the?
Not yet, Mitch.
Okay, we will keep moving along. Thanks everybody for participating in that. Okay. So we're going to start with the three, kind of a basic family friendly, easy for me to say, a family friendly version of the of understanding ASD. And I've called it kind of the 3 S's of ASD and their cohorts. So the 3 S's are basically the social language communication, social interaction, sensory integration, selective or repetitive, behavior restricted areas. Those are the kind of the big 3. And then of course, there are additional challenges that surround that just make their ASD more difficult, more cumbersome. Sometimes it masks the other 3. Sometimes depression, anxiety can really mask and challenge the kind of the main parts of ASD. I had a kid, young adult, say a long time ago, kind of a realization. He looked at me and said, "You mean once I take care of my depression, my ASD, will just kind of feel normal. And I'm like, that's a really interesting way of thinking about it. It might be that your ASD is all you know. So why is it different to you? It may not be. So it might be sometimes that your child's depression, their learning disability, speech and language, their motor challenges, any of those kind of comorbid and co-occurring challenges might really kind of interrupt just understanding and learning about their ASD. All right. So what are at the root? So we're going to use the 3 S's as what's at the root of these challenges. And the quicker and sooner we'll be able to understand that, the better we'll be able to help and respond to their difficulties. And by the way, it will help you guys take their difficulties a lot less personally, right? So we can attribute a lot of these challenges to how their brain simply works, for better or for worse. And sometimes it's challenging, as you know. All right, let's move to the strength-based perspective. Well, we can't talk about kids with ASD and not talk about their superpowers, their strengths and abilities. Okay, here's another little activity for you. What I'd like you to do is as you look at the 3 parts of ASD and some of the special gifts and talents and some of the other superpowers that I've listed here, I'd like you to think about your child, whether it's your own adolescent, young adult, elementary age child, or a grandchild, or a student or client in your therapy session, and think of what is their superpower. What is their strength? And I've only given you 4 or 5 bubbles, but you certainly have plenty of room on your paper and your journal at home to enter what are some of the strengths, what are some of the positives. So I've given you some ideas here, and we'll just take a quick 30 seconds to a minute here and give you some time to think about what are some of their superpowers. Hey, feel free, by the way, to share some of these superpowers and super gifts and talents in the chat as well.
Attention to detail was shared as a superpower, Mitch.
Attention to detail. Awesome. I
Oh,
had
yeah.
one, I think that was shared about the gift of learning about big cats like lions and tigers and everything about them. And I'm like, I don't know so much about that. It was great. I love hearing about, yeah.
Piano, creativity, imagination, funny. I believe Kurt is mentioning funny, not responding to something that was said, I think.
Yeah.
Unique humor, shared again. Curiosity.
Oh yeah, using humor, helping them use their unique humor is a real effective, positive tool. When they have humor, how to help them use that humor as a positive coping strategy. So that's a great gift. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. Appreciate that.
There are 2 more: simplicity in life, outlook, and ability to put things together and balance that wouldn't otherwise be possible.
Wow. Always new ones that I that I hear every time I do this. So it means there's a lot of gifts and talents out there for your kids. I like to share a couple of gifts, pictures of some examples of gifts and talents. You guys might have seen this before. This is written by a boy a while ago who sat in my waiting room for about 10 minutes because he wanted a piece of paper to draw on. And I said, sure. And then he handed this to me and I said, where did you get this? And he just simply handed it to me and said, and I said, may I have it? And he said, you nodded, and in his nod said, yes, you may. So I'm happily sharing that wonderful piece to share with you guys. So here's another one that I've actually had in my office that I've kind of forgot about. And this woman does some nice painting, among other things, puts her photographs up for, and likes to photograph weather, one of her gifts and talents. So I'm going to go through with you guys 4 main questions commonly asked by by parents like yourselves, parents and caregivers. So those are the 4 questions. How do I help them regulate emotions and behaviors? What do I do or say when they can't hear my direction, understand me, and follow me? My child is discouraged, low, feeling down, out of hope. Uh, how do I help them? And then how do I get them to do something other than, the last 2 words of that, usually video games, something that is very stuck and preoccupied? What strategies help my child be more active? All right, so let's look at, I have an answer for you, of course. How about a compass to help you guide you in this journey to answer some of those questions? So we'll go over the 4 different parts of the Calm Compass, 4 different strategies for each direction. Each direction on the Calm Compass kind of gives you a nice framework for attending to whatever is going on for your child, whether they need connect, articulate, lift, or move. So we'll start with connect and the 3 strategies. The 3 strategies in connect are relate, respond, and regulate. And we're going to take regulate tonight and talk a little bit about regulate. So remember that connect is all about the relationship. And the relationship is really what happens so naturally for a lot of kids. They're really looking to connect. Kids with ASD need to connect. They do it differently as you're learning and finding out. And as you know, in your own child situation, you might have a child with ASD and one that doesn't, and they're both positive connections, but it's just different. So kids with ASD definitely need that connection, need your presence in their difficulty and helping them through their difficulties. So, and one of the major difficulties is emotional regulation, right? So let's help them through regulate. Kids with ASD and their parents have, in my experience, and you guys probably see this in your own situation, a lot of how are we going to get this done? And we're working against the grain. We're working against each other to get things done. And regulate in a connect fashion helps everything go, make alignment down the river in the same raft here. So we're all working with the grain. We're all working to go in the same direction. When you guys have heard me talk about power struggles before, whenever we kind of get into power struggles, we're stopping that momentum. We're stopping that positive, proactive change. We're getting stuck with them. So to connect with your child means we get what they're struggling with, and we're on the same page to helping with them. If we don't, we cannot help them. So we have to get on that same page. We have to think through, what are these things? What are their challenges? What's it like for them right now? They're stuck. I'm stuck. We're stuck. Let's start paddling in the same direction here. Okay. So we know kids with ASD are vulnerable and susceptible to just a lot of dysregulation, a lot of emotional volatility, and it can seem to you very abrupt. It can seem kind of bombastic. It can seem sullen and quiet and isolative, where you don't even know what's going on. You've got no read on the emotion, other than kind of shut down or isolation. I want to give you guys a role tonight. And a term. So the term is called a co-regulator. And the role I'd like to give you guys tonight is to be that co-regulator. This term came to me from a colleague of mine, Dr. Ann Garrity, clinical social worker, and I heard it from her in one of her talks years back, and I went, oh my gosh, this is so excellent. When she described what it was like to be a co-regulator, a parent, a caregiver, a teacher, a therapist, somebody to whom that child can go and plug in and feel better. Like, oh my gosh, it was just kind of a light bulb. And I said, my parents that I work with need to know this word. They need to hear and understand what a co-regulator is all about. And you are that for these kids. You are that for your kids. You're the only relationship that they're going to have in this way, and that you can be that for them, and have them understand you in ways that it's really hard for other people to, and it's hard for them to find other people to co-regulate. So you want to be that model for them, so that they can start going to other adults, so they can start going to other people in their lives as they become adults themselves, to find out, this professor at college, this coworker or manager, boss, supervisor. Wow, I really find a connection with them. Maybe if I share and go to them with some of what I'm challenged with at work or at school, they can give me some ease and some self-reflection. They can help me feel better about whatever job, work, college stage of life I'm in. So you're modeling, really, really big picture, kind of an important part of something that these kids are going to need going forward in their lives. So who is that co-regulator in your family? And I mean, all of this helps to co-regulate, because we want to be that calm person, right? We want to be, if they're sensitive to our threat, we cannot come at them with a loud voice, a loud posture, squaring off. We want to come at them with what's going on. How are you doing? How are you feeling? We want to connect so we can help them regulate. So co-regulate is the term, and that is your role, your job going forward. And let's find out where and how else we can help you be that co-regulator. All right. So 4 parenting strategies to help regulate. Proactive, not reactive. So everything we do, as much as possible, let's try to be positively proactive. Okay. Let's think about, oh, okay. So we're in our mind, we're going to be thinking a couple steps ahead of where they are, what they need, what it's like for them. When we get into reactive, we're on our heels. We don't know where we're going. We don't know where they're going, and we don't know how to help them. It's always okay to stop and say, whoa, I don't know how to help you right now. Let me get on the same page with you. That's positive. That's supportive. You are now engaged to help be that co-regulator in that position to get them calm and in control. Preventative actions and strategies are just really the best way to go, because the opposite is disastrous. Reactive, because the opposite is a crisis. If we're not preventing things, we tend to fall into crisis. In crisis mode, it's just heightened states of dysregulation that they become kind of desensitized to. And so we have a lot of work to undo that heightened dysregulated state of feeling threats. Now those sort of threat bubbles are going to be, grow and grow and grow. So we want those threat bubbles to start shrinking, to start coming down, so that they can start taking risks, feeling vulnerable, safe but vulnerable, not vulnerable, unsafe. But in order to do that, we need to kind of give them that pathway so that they can feel better. Predictable, reliable, that is really that's a very common strategy. Anything that we can do to help them be predictable, and that includes kind of how we respond and react to things, right? If we're unpredictable, if our strategies are all over the map, or we're trying things and we're not following through, or it can leave them feeling really out of sorts, and they're not sure, like, okay, can I plug into dad right now? Because I am not feeling like I can go mow the lawn with all the bugs out there today. And what if I tell them that? And so they're trying to think through strategies, but then they have to pose those strategies to you. So be that open, proactive, positive self and say, well, there's a lot of bugs out there today. When do you think would be the best time to get out there and cut that lawn? Well, now they're like, oh my gosh, she knows what it's like. He's thinking the way I'm thinking. I was kind of thinking about that, Dad, and I was thinking maybe, whenever it's not buggy. So now's a good time, guys, because it's like 45 degrees out there. So, now's a good time. So anyway, and of course, plan. You guys know that I really love any kind of visual schedule and structure to help them see what's coming down the pike, right? Anything that you can help put down on a visual, from self-calming strategies to calendars to schedules. The more creative and fun you can have with that, the better. Try not to make them too businessy and boring and that kind of thing. And I really encourage you to have them engage in that process, from phone calendars, like, all right, when are you going to go to the orthodontist? Because that needs to kind of be on your phone calendar too. And those kinds of things. So get them involved, get them engaged. It helps them know what's coming. The parents who find themselves being the gatekeepers of a lot of things find the stress on them. And then where does that stress go when the child is like, I didn't know we were supposed to go to Mitch's today? It becomes conflicted, and I told you, that kind of thing. So let's think about these really awesome strategies to help your child regulate, stay calm and in control, so that they can take risks, take chances, and grow into young adults.
Hey, Mitch, I did receive a question about how you would apply this strategy to school, being kind of a power struggle. Tried everything and it's still just a common fight.
Yeah. Helping, going to school, perhaps. Is that how you
Yes.
read that?
Yes.
Right. So that, as I'm thinking through, so there is a threat to their brain that says going to school is not okay. And it's yours and the team's job, including the child, to start investigating, what is that threat? What is that threat to you? And it may not be a literal threat. It could be a literal threat, like another child, or a feeling. It's mostly a feeling of, this is not a safe place. This is not a beginning. So one of the strategies that I use, guys, is going through the beginning of the school day to the end of the school day. And I'll find in that 8 hours of activity, 7 hours of activity, that there might be one or two very, very stressful classes or periods of the day. And it could be anything from recess to science to phy ed, anything century that is overwhelming and over the top. And then the whole school day is a no-go. So let's dive in a little bit to what part of that school day is most distressing. To be that co-regulator, you want to know from them, okay, let's start at the top. You're getting ready for school. When you leave for school, you're looking okay. How do you feel? No, I want to go. Okay, well, let's go to the bus. I mean, so it could be as soon as like leaving the door, going to the bus stop, anywhere from coming home on the bus or getting picked up, end of the day. So we need to cover everything that the child considers school and school day. So I think I have a strategy for you, which is right here. Okay. In my stress book, there is an activity, and it might even be there, which I see on the slide, called Stress at School. And that's the exercise I use with kids and parents to find out where and when that challenge is, and where it's extra heightened. That's going to be the one that's going to probably stop them. So using my stress book is a really great way of helping them understand stress, the 3 pillars of mental health. There's some exercises in there, um, helping them with identifying self-calming strategies that are continually evolving and changing, from sensory integration strategies to communication strategies when stress gets hard. Um, uh, some good exercises and tools in the stress book right there. Um, there are so many ways to talk about stress, and kids with ASD have an abundance of that because of the difficulty navigating the social world. So let's go into understanding your child tonight. If you haven't already, stress is kind of inherently, using the stress rating scale, kind of a out of the gate 3 to 5. A lot of kids might start the school day going, oh no, and their brain is not ready to learn it. Oh no, bad things are going to happen today. Or what do I got to watch out for? Who's going to look at me weird? Who's not going to talk to me? How am I going to get rejected or left alone? So they're kind of coming out of the gate with that. And we want them to be learning things. So let's find out where those stresses are so they can be open and ready to learn. All right. The second question here, we're going to go in the direction of articulate. How and what do I say to my child so that they can hear me, understand me, and follow me? We want to say things that they get, right? All right, so here we go. Articulate, a great word for that. Words and language matter. All right, so this one, it's all about communication. It's all about the words and language, right? The way we use our speech, the way we use our phrasing, how fast we talk, how much we say, where our pauses, um, what did they last hear? Those of you who've worked with me might hear me say, what did you hear me say? And the child says, pizza? And I said, that sounds good, but nope. So let's go back and do it again. So we'll have fun with this because they need to be okay to go, I do have a hard time listening. Why is that, Mitch? Because I said probably 10 different things and I should have said 1 or 2. So let's make it again kind of a collaborative process to help them make sure make sure they get what it is you're trying to say, and vice versa, actually. So we want to make sure we understand what they're saying. So um, the way to help them understand things differently is through a strategy called Reframe. So Reframe is really, what is it like from their perspective when they're stuck? We might use Reframe in some of the strategies to helping that child at getting to school, because they might see something a certain way and we might need to just change that frame. Where does Reframe come from, guys? It comes from becoming flexible thinkers. So kids with ASD have rigid and flexible thinking, narrow restricted thinking. And in order to combat that, in order to help that, we need to help them look at things differently. So let's try and open up that lens, open up those blinders a little bit to thinking um, different ways to say the same thing, different ways to portray, to give examples of the same thing. There are many different ways to say things, to communicate things. Again, pictures, from fewer words, different words, to just more visuals. Sometimes timing. Sometimes, 9 o'clock at night isn't the best time to have a discussion about why you as parents have decided that this particular activity is not going to be good for them. We might want to be thinking of a better time to kind of talk about that. So let's kind of reframe the way we approach some of these strategies even, but more specifically, Reframe is language, phrasing, communication, social interactions. Again, changing perspective, because perspective is such a difficulty. Um, so I heard the other day that from a parent who said, I kind of feel like I'm an interpreter of a language because I have to tell the teacher what my child said. And I said, That's a great word. That's a great word for helping your child be heard to someone else. And frankly, teachers are probably doing that every day, all day with parents saying, this is what I think they're saying. So you guys can share back and forth. What does it mean? What does this communication mean? Getting up and leaving class without saying anything. I think it means that they got stuck on this topic. So we can kind of like put our interpretations out there that might help the child say, okay, that makes sense. This is a difficult topic, or they can only handle 20 minutes of that topic before that Bunsen burner smell kind of gets to them after a few minutes because of that thing that happened or whatever. So we never know what those triggers are, but we want to kind of keep coming up with different ways to help think of them differently, um, to help them solve these problems. Um, let's reframe any kind of negative processing or any negative ways of communicating to positive. Um, one of the kind of big reframe kicks I'm on lately is something I'm calling preferential thinking or preferential communication. And that is when kids start to communicate, I don't like, or I don't want, um, I don't care for, from a more politely stated preference. And so we're going to try to reframe some of these things as um, it's hard for you, and you would if you could. So we're going to reframe what is preferential to it's expected. So think about things that you hear, and we kind of do get caught up in that. I hear parents say the same things back to the child, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, so this is a pattern of communication that we can change. So let's reframe, restate. Um, it's really hard to do, really hard to change. I like, I don't like. It's very preferential. It's interesting. Like, I appreciate you sharing that with me, but here's what's expected. Let's make a plan to do what's expected. Let's get back on that plan. And the preferential thinking is it's kind of a break. It's kind of like they're just taking a break on the side. Like, okay, you need a little pause, you need a little break. All right, yeah, it's hard. I know you don't like math. It's expected. How can we help you get re-engaged to math? Because it's still expected. But maybe we can think about it differently. So let's put our heads together and think about how we can do these things differently. Um, I think the biggest thing for me is that sometimes parents get caught up in power struggles with I like, and this kind of preferential thinking when things aren't expected. Like, I don't want to go to school. I don't like school. That's a bummer. We're going to help you figure out what it is you don't like so we can help you get to school because that's what's expected, and so on. So set, set these sails instead of digging holes. Let's not get caught up in negative communication, preferential thinking when things are expected, um, and, um, and get them back on the trail here, guys. Right? Um, Excellent. Any questions, any comments so far about, we have reframe and we have regulate. That's the two strategies so far. We got two more to go.
Yeah, there was one question about the strategy of regulate. You gave an example of, whoa, I don't know how to help you right now. Let me get on the same page. Is that something you recommend a parent say or out loud, or say more to themselves as they prepare to help regulate with their child, co-regulate?
Thanks, Anna, and thanks to the person who put that out there. Yes, it is something you can say. Kids know when we don't know stuff. They know it before we know it, right? So let's be open. Many of you have heard me say um, the word and the positive way of communication of being open instead of closed communication. Like, we know everything. No, we don't. And if we don't know something, it's okay to say that, because what are we modeling? we're modeling we don't know, let's collaborate and come up with something positive together. So for sure, if we don't know, let's figure it out together. It doesn't mean we're abandoning the child. It doesn't mean we're giving up on the child. It means I'm not sure how to help that. But I want to find out. So let's get on that. Who do we need to talk to? What's the best way to approach this so we can work on this together? Because this is an important problem that we need to solve. Your struggle getting certain things done on time and completing them and handing them in is a real challenge for you. And we just want to help you do what's expected. And you know, sometimes it's okay to take the side of the child when you go into a school IEP meeting and say, we don't know how to, I'm trying to help them at home and I'm not sure how to help them. Can you guys give us some advice and some suggestions on how to help in this particular situation? And the child feels like it's collaborative, it's connecting, right? So thanks for that question. And yes, let's.
And then kind of on a similar token there, would you recommend using points or incentives for when your child completes something that's expected of them?
We are going to touch on that in just a sec. I think
Oh,
that's
there you
actually
go.
going to next. Yes, I
I had
know.
no idea, but we
It's
got a couple
coming
more
right up.
questions too.
Sure.
I think everybody's jumping in now. So just let me know when you're ready. If you want to
Yeah.
jump
Yeah,
to
sure.
that, we can circle back to the questions.
We can touch on some questions now if you want to, because
Okay,
we're in the middle and I
great.
did ask for them. So sure, yeah.
All right. Next question is, what if the child shuts down in response to anything they perceive as uncomfortable, like an avoidant reaction, and they're unwilling to discuss it?
Yeah, we can't force kids to disclose or communicate things that don't feel right. We can help them the best way we can. We can get the team on board, make the team aware of that this particular thing is really keeping them stuck right now. And where, throughout their 14 hours of awake period, how can we touch base on this to help them? Everybody, let's communicate that with the child. We don't want to do this behind them. We want everybody kind of open about this. So let's again be collaborative and communicative. We probably want, to make sure, as with any kind of medical or mental health issue, we want to make sure that there's safety in the communication and a safe place to be communicating, and who's on the team that is maybe best appropriate to address these issues. Maybe not everybody's appropriate to be asking these. So in a general way, let's open this up for the child to really include just about everybody, because they might see everybody kind of on the same level. They might even see people that they feel more connected to that we didn't imagine or think about, that they talk to at school, that they just have a connection with, that is just kind of innate and beneath the radar. And so we want to make sure that we have all those people at their disposal. Yeah, shutdowns are hard. We can make them worse quite easily, and we don't have to do much for kids to feel shut down. It can certainly be part of a larger mental health issue like anxiety and depression. So we want to make sure mental health professionals are available to help assess and ascertain direction for those kind of additional mental health issues that may be catching them or causing them that stuckness.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Next
Anna.
question is, what is like the best sentence to use to get in the habit of using reframe, like a phrase or a dialogue that you can apply to different situations?
What's it like
Like
for you? What's it like from your perspective? I say to kids, you can say to your kids, what's it like for you? What's it like to be you? What's it like to think like you? What's it like to struggle like you? What's it like to succeed like you do? I need to know what it's like so I can help your children. You need to know what it's like so you can help your children. We all need to be on the same page. So it's very important to understand what it's like and get them to start feeling positive and safe in the communication of these difficulties. If we're gonna get past ASD ever, and I've never said this, but if we can get ASD past a disorder and more of like, this is just how the brain is built, we need to start understanding what it's like. And maybe it won't be a disorder. Maybe it'll just be a different way of thinking. And it is, and we do talk about that, but it, yeah.
Let's see. Do we have time for another one? I'm
Let's
kind
do
of
one
rolling
more.
in now. Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for great
Yes,
questions.
this is awesome. Mitch loves Q&A. So applying everything right to your lives. This parent says, my kid has felt not validated when another perspective is presented. If you reframe, does the person feel not validated at times?
Wow. Well, that's a sure, possibly. I mean, absolutely. The person can feel, yep. If the challenge is that, I suppose maybe context might be helpful in this example, but if if the expectation is to do something, be somewhere, um, grow in some way, whether it's hygiene or homework or some social opportunity or expectation, and the child is stuck in that, um, reframing helps them see it differently so they can get unstuck and do the thing you want them to do or the thing that's expected of them. So that's kind of the goal in reframe, is to get them through stuckness, is to get them. So what's it like for them? So we can say, oh, okay, so let's tackle this thing so that you can do what's expected. This may come up when kids say, like, I don't want to be social. And I say, being social and interacting can be really difficult. What part of social interactions with people is difficult for you? And I'm already starting to break it down. I'm already saying, is it the greeting part? Is it hanging out and having the conversation? No, no, no. The greeting's fine. I say hi to everybody. Oh, okay. So what's the next part? Well, I don't know what to say next. Oh, okay. So in my mind, they backed up to, I'm not going to that party. I'm not doing that thing. I'm not joining that group because then I have to talk more about what it is and I don't know what to say. Oh, okay. Well, then we forge ahead and we start to solve that particular problem. So it might feel like we're invalidating them if it's a preference, like I don't like strawberries. Okay, you know what? There's no expectation that you have to like strawberries, so I'm cool with that. I have no reason to change that perspective. Um, so that's where preferential thinking is like perfect and fine and great. You don't like strawberries? Okay, they're, what other things do you like? So, all right, I'll move on. Thanks, everybody. All right, let's see here. What is next? Reframing from don'ts to do's. We got two more, and it's already an hour here, so let's keep cruising here. My child is discouraged, frustrated, and nearly out of hope. Okay, here's the lift and inspire. So let's move our compass and go in the direction of lift. All right. So lift is to inspire and to motivate. When our kids are feeling down, when they're feeling out of hope, when they're feeling like they need kind of something, that bored, that low level stress. I can't generate something on my own. I need your help. So let's reinforce. So reinforce is the strategy we're going to talk about tonight, and that is positive reinforcement. So let's talk about positive reinforcement. Sometimes we inadvertently reinforce non-adaptive behaviors. It happens to all of us. We just want to watch out for that. We want to, whenever a child is acting and demonstrating positive pro-social behaviors, we want to reinforce that. For example, a child who might, you know, self-advocate for an organization or a thing, we might want to reinforce that because it's positive and pro-social. And then we can help them with organizational difficulties around that, or other kinds of things. But this helps them combat other parts and other strategies that are or other challenges that they might have, like depression and anxiety and the threats to things. So lift is an important part of your ASD parenting journey, an important part of your direction to go when they're feeling down, and to include in their daily kind of parenting. So let's find and reinforce these positive and adaptive strategies for all kinds of good functioning. So yes, charts, from sticker charts to penny jars to things that are basically my rule on positive reinforcement is short term and very specific. So find something very specific to work on, and let's make it immediate so that they get whatever it is you think and they think is motivating. Again, use sort of the supply and demand kind of generalities in positive reinforcement strategies. So we don't want to, if they get 10 hours of screen time a day, an extra 5 or 10 minutes of screen time is not going to be of value to them. It's not going to be motivating enough for them to. So we want to help in that kind of motivation. Basically, positive reinforcement is using motivational strategies to get over a hump, to get through a barrier, to get through a tough place and a tough time. It's not so they can then kind of incorporate their own motivation. So we want them, to feel good about going to school on their own, even though it's been hard. So we want them to kind of get motivated, to kind of lift them up so that they can feel better about what's expected and the place that they're expected to attend, feeling safe and feeling good about it. Okay, here we are on the fourth direction on the Calm Compass, called move. Get up and get out. And move is about just doing, right? It's in all these three strategies, it's about kind of getting up and think, hey, this is really difficult for you. Let's do it together. So that could be rehearsing things, repairing, and recreating activities. So the direction we're going to go in, the strategy we're going to use in move, is repair. Let's talk about repair. I like repair. When repair came to me, I kind of always felt like, kids need somewhat of a do-over. They kind of need a retake. I always think about, my class pictures whenever they were bad, like retake day is, so many weeks, and maybe you'd remember, maybe you wouldn't, but I'm like, oh man, did I look like that? I needed a retake. So I think kind of repair, redo is a great second opportunity, second chance. Kids need multiple opportunities to do the right thing. We have to get them feeling like the thing that they landed on was the best thing. We don't want to leave them with a lot of feeling of failure, feeling of shoddy schoolwork and things that they're not proud of or feeling good about. So it's really okay to have things to get them to feel positive about themselves, mostly in social situations, things that are very hard to kind of repair and redo, frankly. This is using those strategies earlier about kind of being a little bit predictable, about being preventative, so that they can start uh, thinking of things. So there's maybe fewer repairs and redos to make. And that would be in the strategy of rehearse. That's where we get a little more preventable. So here's where we're going to, when kids do make mistakes, we're not going to react in our own sort of shame based, oh my gosh, you made me look as a parent like I'm a bad parent. Whoops, sorry, put that off to the side for just a second. Say, oh my gosh, that was a mistake. Let's see how we can repair that mistake. So, um, we know that kids are not mistakes, and we know that mistakes are stepping stones to learning. If we don't make them, we haven't learned. I think it's very true here. So we qualify these challenges that they have as mistakes, so we can move through them quicker. Um, I had a guy I'm seeing, he's, I don't know, 40 something, and he said, you know, my mistakes, because I talked to him. So whenever I talk with older adults, we talk about past experiences growing up with ASD and that kind of thing. And he goes, my mistakes stick to me like glue. I can remember every single one of them. And he just looked like just ashen, like, oh my goodness, that came in a flood. So we worked through that. But um, kids with ASD have a bit of sticky brain syndrome. It's not a real syndrome. It's something Mitch calls when the propensity to move life's events through that brain to reprocess gets stuck. And kids with ASD seem to have a really sticky brain about those mistakes, about those bad events, about those I screwed up. So this is just one parenting strategy that I would like you guys to really take in tonight to allow them these mistakes so that they can move through. The mistake is not like an explanation like, oops, sorry, dog ate my homework. That was a mistake. Like, no, here's the plan. So let me give you kind of a plan for working through mistakes. All right. And the plan is not excuse, it's explanation. So we're not just making excuses for mistakes. We're kind of there's an explanation, and we're going to do something about it. So the 3-step strategy to repairing mistakes is this: accept and acknowledge the mistake, fix the mistake, whatever that means to you or to them, and make a plan to move forward. The third part is as much a process as the second. So try not to get too hung up on, I need to apologize, my child needs to apologize. That can be a little bit of an over expectation for many people. It's saying I'm sorry is mostly a social skill. It's sort of saying the words. And if the child is not ready to say the words, don't make them say it, because they might say it and then find the words kind of spiteful and vindictive, like, I'm sorry. And you're like, oh gosh, he's not ready to say sorry yet. So we're going to wait for that. That might even be part of the plan, is to work on saying sorry in ways that people can hear and say, oh, okay, you're right, you're good. We can work through this, because that's really what you're looking for, is ways for them to go boom, boom, boom. Next. We don't want these mistakes to hang around in their brain for years to come. So let's make sure that these mistakes are workable and redoable. So I hope that helps you guys in move and repair, redo. We can repair most anything. So anything else about that? Let's keep going here. Yep. So we can redo. I have a child that came into my office the other day to see me, and they walked right in my office, said, "Oh, whoops, let me show you, how we do this." And then I walked them out to the waiting room, and I had them knock on the door and say, "Hey, Mitch, are you ready for me?" And we laughed and we smiled. So a lot of facial expression. It was not a shame-based strategy, and everybody was okay with that, and it was fun and funny. And now he's probably going to remember that this is what I got to do, is to knock on the wall or the door and say, Mitch, are you ready for me? And then wait for my reply. So we can repair, redo a lot of different things. And the smaller ones, the better. So have fun doing it, laugh about it, tease about it in positive, healthy ways, and yeah, help them overcome those little mistakes. All right. So, guys, that really wraps up my 4 strategies, my 4 directions in the Calm Compass from Connect, Articulate, Lift, and Move tonight. I went over time. Thank you guys so much for coming tonight. These are just 6 reasons why the Calm Compass can help you. You guys can do things today. You don't have to wait for the next appointment. You can do things every single day, because that's when you see your kids, every single day, or most of you see them every single day. But you have a lot more opportunity to interact with your child than I do, and I want you to really take that time and make good use of that time, because they just grew up so fast. I'm a grandpa now, and so I see how time is moving on pretty darn fast. And growing up with a lot of these things, and with parents that get you is what your children are looking for. So time does move on here. So get to those strategies. You can use all these every day. And let me know if you have any questions about that. Lots of different strategies in the Calm Compass to help you. Let's just do a quick check-in on the post vision. All right. Don't leave quite yet. Let's do the post vision. Think about that vision of yourself being able to change some of how you interact with your child and what their responses are to you. And can you see that become a little bit actualized, a little bit realized? I hope that you can tonight. That was really the goal, just to kind of shift that a little bit, to help you all see something, do something a little different for your kids with ASD. Always learning to do better for people with ASD, right? We're always here. There's a free download. All right. So here's just some, the courses are 4 of them. There's the value of 2 courses, the 3 courses, and my shameless sort of not very good selling of my So here we are, guys. It's a really great course for $99 for all 4 courses. So let me know if you guys need any or have any questions about that. Send a link or chat to Anna. Ask me anything, of course, about ASD. And Anna, is there anything else that we can add to this about tonight? Thank you all. Really, thank you all so much. I'm really happy to be able to talk to you tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. Since we're over time, just want to be respectful of everyone's time. Thanks for staying here till the end. We have some questions. If the recording will be available, it will be. Mitch will send out a link to that once it's done processing. Inside the course, there's like a discussion feature, and you can ask Mitch questions there. So as you're working through each section, there's videos and worksheets. You can work through it with your co-parent or co-caregiver as well. There's a lot of different ways to interact there that parents have found very useful. There's even a couple of people here tonight who have already purchased the course and are working through the section. So I think a lot of what Mitch covered, they're just kind of relearning, reinstating, reinforcing, which is another strategy, right, Mitch?
That's right, reinforce, that's right.
Keep reinforcing and
relearning.
Practice for sure. There was one other question for those of us still on that didn't get answered. If you want to take one more minute, Mitch, that was kind of the last of the questions. Getting a lot of thank you in the chat.
Thank you, everybody.
Just one quick question about tantrums. Just handling meltdowns.
Supporting kids when they're in throes of a meltdown is what I see.
That's a good
Yeah.
headline. Yes.
Yep. And those are kids that are definitely in a crisis, and there's not really much you can do except, keep that space safe, keep them safe, keep yourself safe. So meltdowns are narrow interventions and strategies contain the meltdown, contain danger to self or others, contact crisis or emergency services if you need to. Really, the work happens after the meltdown, or to prevent these meltdowns. So yes, meltdowns do happen. We can even, I've worked with parents and families in the past about, like, when we get to this point, like, what is a meltdown? When a child can talk about a meltdown and they can say, well, here's what happens to me. And they may not say it so eloquently and quickly as I'm saying it now, because of course it takes a lot of work and a lot of time, a lot of patience, but we're just kind of cruising through this. But basically they're saying, this is what it's like for me in a meltdown, this is what I need. And so we were able to kind of recreate the meltdown a little bit, and as in part of the session, and what the child needed, instead of what the parents were giving. And we all learned something. I didn't know what the child needed, the parents didn't know. And I thought the parent felt like, hey, this was really great to be able to say what I need when I'm not having the meltdown. So in a meltdown, super tough, keep everybody safe, use crisis services if you need to, and do the work after everybody's calm and in control. Work on those self-calming strategies. So thanks guys for that. Yep.
Thanks, Mitch. That's all the questions we had.
All
Thanks
right.
everyone for being here.